We are live. Here it is. And welcome to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. As it started out with being basically a talk about what was in a old clubmaker's drawers that the Matt's already on. Way to go, big boy. With what's going on and stuff that we keep. And we've basically gone through there. So I am starting to hold on to some questions that I've been asked in the previous week in order to go over it and address some issues and concerns. And the first thing we're going to talk about is epoxy or glue, right? I call it glue. Their technical is epoxy. And what's used to attach heads to shafts is a two-part epoxy, and it can be, and the difference, what makes the difference is its working time. All right. So you'll have 5-minute glue, 15-minute glue, 30-minute glue, and 24-hour glue. And what does all that mean? That means in 15 minutes, you can pretty much, start using it up. Now, there's gel times, and there are working times, and there are cure times. In just about every instance, it's fully cured at 24 hours, but you can use it in something less than that with the stronger glues. And so 5-minute, what you'll hear is called tour glue. That's normally the 5-minute one. And that's what's happening is you can get maybe 1 or 2 golf clubs made and put together, and then you can set them to the side, make 2 more, set them to the side, make 2 more, set them aside. And each one of these has its own separate batch because it will dry in that fast of time. And by the time you're done with doing all that, you get to the first one again, and you do all the finishing that you have to do in the bending and blah, blah, blah. Put the grip on it, you're ready to rock and roll. And next thing you know, you've got a club that once the caddy puts it in the bag, he gets over and they start doing their talking. They suggest not to do it, but in some cases they will. So it's just the way it goes. Now we try to use is 24-hour glue, and because it has its shear strength and its workability allow me a longer time to use it. So I make larger batches, and when I'm doing work, and then in case something comes into the door, I have it sitting there and I can use it up. Now it has a limitation as well, as far as there's only so much time I'm going to allow it to be used before I go and make another batch as well. And then the structure, like the 5-minute glue, 15-minute glue, I might use on putters because they're not going to experience the same amount of stress as a driver or an iron. But in any case, you have to mix it well. If you're not stirring it for less than a minute, you are not doing yourself any favors, okay? Because it won't gel together, and then you have separation, and that's when heads start coming apart. Typically, when you see it only attaching to one side or something, which is more cases we'll talk about in a minute. The next thing I always get asked is, what do is it just glue? And the answer is no. For me, I use sintering beads. Sintering beads can be sandblast grit, glass beads, that kind of stuff, but very, 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 very fine grit, because we're only talking about a hundredths clearance, right? And so we really need to be very careful about how we are going to add that in. And I just sprinkle a little bit across the top of the pile, and just enough to dust it, and then I circle it in. So what does a bead do? Well, as it sits in there, what it does, it centers that shaft in there. Again, we're talking about little bits and pieces, and the reason why you don't want a whole lot is because the beads can take place of the glue, and then it doesn't hold if you put too much bead in there. So just enough bead to get it in there, and that's when you spin the head on the shaft or the shaft into the head, and then it gets a good centering right there. That's what that's for. Now, and whether or not you use it on shims and stuff like that, the answer for me is yes, I use it on shims as well. But that gets you centered. The other part is when you're attaching the two pieces, they got to be free and clear of chemicals. All right. So You know, they go, what'll happen is when somebody does reaming, they might use cutting oil and they go and cut it, and then they will use acetone or some sort of cleaner in order to clean out the hosel area again and then start gluing. Well, then that chemical hasn't had a time to dry, evaporate off and then nobody's wiped it dry. So you want the shaft being clean, you want the head being clean for them to go in. And you're going to know that something wasn't clean when somebody comes to your shop or even comes here and they open it up and there's only glue on one side. That means the other side probably wasn't prepared enough. Oh, there goes my backing. The sun shifted on me, and this is what we had. So here we go. This is what we had. And so Mrs. McGolf is probably putting it up. Well, I'll try and get you guys out of the sun here. I was trying to give VA Golf a little bit of love. We'll turn it over here. There we go. Now you guys get to see just the shafts and the heads. So over there was the window to the range and some of my fitting heads, and that's what it was. Don't worry about it. And so that's what happens when you do a last minute repair job. So anyway, so that's where it's all clean, and that's epoxy in a nutshell. Okay. The other one is putters. Well, actually, we're going to do one more thing, then we'll see about putters. Back weighting, right? Back weighting is becoming a thing. Hopefully she's heard this. There's a bit of a delay. Back weighting. Back weighting is something that we've been doing since the late 90s, and basically, in a nutshell, if you drill a hole in the back here where the shaft is at, and you take something like this, something like that, you insert it into the back, and then you tighten it down because it has a place right here that accepts an Allen key, and then what it does is it gets pulled up, and this one squeezes this together, and it creates a seal. On some of the older models, like this one it was a solid piece that had a 45 cut in it, and it would slide, and those two pieces would get bigger, causing it to seat itself in there. Now, why back weight? Well, in putters, it's very, very successful in putters. And as you can tell by the success of this guy, you see a lot of these on tour, right? You're seeing a lot of these on tour, and a lot of it has to do with what's back here as well as how all this is put together. And what that does is that when you go to putt and you put your hands together, it takes a lot of that out. It takes a lot of the hand wiggling out, and it makes things more consistent in the swing. And you'll notice that even when you putt the ball, that the ball rolls even more fluid. It rolls smoother, right? No more. It rolls smoother. And so that's what back weighting does. You know, the big binding question is, well, what kind do you use back here, right? Well, we started out with Balance Certified. They're the #1 guy that started it out. And that's all we've ever used. There's 2 companies out there, and for the life of me, I don't know who the other one is. But these guys have a testing program where you put assorted weights of different numbers, right? And you put them in the back of here, and then you let people putt. Now, and they're interchangeable weights, and there's 6 different weight categories, and then you can tell which one you react to, and it's basically you start making more putts. Okay, and then that's what you would use. Now, the other one is in full swing. Do you work in full swing clubs? The answer is sometimes, right? And what we're used, so you'll use something probably a little bit bigger in the putters, but something a little bit smaller in the driver and in the irons. And because of the full swing. So now using here we go. We'll just use one of these. Hold on. So when you put it in the back here, on the back of a regular shaft, same thing, drill the hole, put it in here. But this is a much different weight, and now you're putting the weight back here. You know, people will talk about, oh, I need to feel the head back here, and they're normally pretty aggressive, right? And there's like Zorro with a golf club. And normally what it is that they're looking for it's not necessarily this, but it's the feeling that torque has that's in your hands. Could be. And again, there's a testing for that. There's a testing ring for that. And what it is, this is one of the bigger ones. And what it does, it slides up here onto the grip. And this is being a bigger grip, it doesn't go further, but on the smaller grip, it'll go up further. And then you put your hands over, it's not totally uncomfortable, and you swing. And you can see how much you will center up when you use impact tape, and you will see the change in the acceleration profiles. You'll see just the change in the swing, and it's a feel. It's really, really a feel. Now, kind of give you a little bit of a secret on this one, is that typically guys that are smoother don't do very well. All right, it's guys that are fairly aggressive. So those guys that are always looking for something that is a super heavy shaft, right? But just can't control it, because typically when shafts get made and they get heavier, this gets smaller and it gets really hard to make things go. So what we do is you can take that same weighted shaft that you enjoy, put a little bit of weight in the back, and all of a sudden, bam, you're finding the club in the backswing, you're releasing on time, and that's what it's doing. Now, the way it got started was back in the day when long drivers had 55-inch clubs and they were swinging like gorillas, which they kind of still do now. They were back weighting in order to have that feeling, because they were typically aggressive swings, in order to see where they were going. And it creates a little bit of club head speed. Not a tremendous amount, maybe a mile an hour or two, but it creates some, because now, and I hate using the term, but it's kind of almost a whipping effect, because now the weight's here and you're slinging it now. So there's something to be said for that. So that's back weighting. Last bit was on putters. I got asked the difference in putters, and it was mostly from an Odyssey standpoint. So Odyssey guys or Toulon or anybody watching, which I doubt they are, but if they are, here's Jim's version of the evolution of this guy. All right, that guy. All right, and that's the insert, right? The insert. Milled putters are milled putters, right? They will always be a block of metal. There'll always be a block of metal, right, like that. And milled, and they'll have the face that gives away the milling. And each person has its own different milling for different reasons. Okay. But what we're talking about now is the insert here. All right. In the beginning, there was just the insert. The 2-ball was just the Mac Daddy of all things. But it was just a white piece, and it was very, very hot, i.e. hot, right, when they were talking about that. I'm going to do the little favor for you. There you go. Look at that. Now I feel like a podcaster again. All righty. So what they're talking about here is, at the beginning when it was hot, it also had variations in the width. So in the middle, it might be super hot, and out here it might be dead as a doornail, or vice versa for that matter. So things started changing. They started putting faces on it and making it harder, making it softer. And then comes the O-works, these little tabs that try to get the forward roll. Then the forward roll was really good. I thought it gave it a really neat feel. They went back a little softer because they were adding metal. And then what they were getting feedback from the tour was it was too soft, which, okay. And then they said it didn't make any noise. Okay. And he said sound is very, very important to that kind of thing. And so hence we now have the new insert, and it does make a noise. It's a little more firmer. It's a little more consistent. The area that's impacted, you see the whole O-works piece isn't part of it. And so it goes. So, oops, sorry. And then they come in the different models that are available now. And like most places, the models really haven't changed. They get a new look and sometimes a new style. So that's where that's at. Okay. And that's my little, let's talk about that for just a few minutes. So we'll start at the top. We got Matt. How you doing, Matt? You shooting the 60s again? Told you I got 80. John, what's going on? Mr. Willard, here's my man from Sweden. Thank you for joining again, man. I know it's late, and I appreciate it. All right. Got the stump man. He's checking back in. Well done, dude. There's Mr. Kevin from Scotland. And I really like the golf emoji thing you got going on there. All right, Mr. Travis, Chatham, New Jersey. Ooh, all right, well done. And we got Florida. Man, we are rolling. And there's the sis. She's in. Robin's answering some of those things. Yeah, Matt, you didn't run any traffic on the way back? So for all you know, Matt came down to visit. We extended a couple of his putters. He's visited here quite a few times, and it's fun. Finally got to meet the kids, and they are very outstanding. They're also very tall. They're gonna have some competition, so I get ready, Mom and Dad. All right, let's see. Here we go. The lefty from Palm Desert. Well, Aaron, appreciate that, brother. New Mexico, there's one. Sharon Harrington from New Mexico. Well done. We got Kansas City. Nice. I used to live in Kansas City, just outside of it, though, on the Kansas City side in Kansas City. So now that I said that, you probably know that I was there. No, it doesn't, Liz. It's there is a related strength. As the cure time goes shorter, the shear strength gets smaller, but not by very large amounts. Okay, can you talk about lie? Matt's got a good one. Lie angles on woods is important as irons and hybrids. Nice round yesterday. There we go. So lie angles are very much dependent upon, as the club gets more lofted, the lie angle becomes more important. Okay. Now, does that mean that it's not a thing? No. But is it a ginormous impact like it is, say, on a wedge? No. All right. So what it does, it looks like, and what you'll see is there will be people, again, I get to use my really old club here. So if it sits like this, and that's normal, and what you'll see is most people have it toe up when they're looking at it. Chances are when that happens, there's two things going on. One is the guy's pushing his hands really, really down low, setting his hands really, really low, or the club's really, really long. And that's what you get right there. It goes and it gets up or it gets really, really long. And sometimes that can work to a disadvantage. Sometimes not, because golfers are a strange group, and some guys can make some things work. So if you see it very, very, and I don't mean just a little bit, but I mean like a lot, right? When you're looking at it, you almost see the whole entire club looking right at you as opposed to looking down. That's the difference for the lie angle. Is it important on hybrids? Yes, a little bit more so because they have more loft. And it's also about, at that particular point, you're also talking about interacting with the turf, right? If you got it very, very heel heavy, it's not going to look very good. And at address, it's not going to feel very good. So hopefully we got that one. All right. Look at that. Albuquerque. All right. Here we go. Okay, wedge fittings for me, all right, and honestly, I include them in my iron fitting, but I really, really should do them separately anymore because wedges are becoming more defined as the here's the reality of it. As the lofts are getting stronger in those irons, more wedges are showing up in the bag, and pretty soon it's going to be dominating them, right? Because you can start it. if you're a 5 through a gap wedge or 5 through a sand wedge, and now you can be 6 through a pitch, tack, gap, sand, lob, right? And so you can just see how it goes. So yeah, we probably ought to be looking at that. And because now it's the wedges are going to start getting more specialized as they become termed wedges. Okay, and case in point, 52 degree, which is normally a gap wedge for most people. In some cases, it is a full swing club. In some cases, it will never be a full swing club, and it's a partial shot club. And those two clubs, they could be the exact same head, but would need different requirements. Okay, different requirements in that the you might put a wedge shaft in a partial swing club where you put the regular iron shaft in the full swing club in order for it to feel good, in order for it to perform correctly, right? So again, what's important to consider? Well, and just like anything, for me, length is number one. You can get away with some mistakes at the shorter length because they're easier to control. But if we're looking to be completely precise, length is very, very important. It's also equal to consistency. Then we're also looking at the lie angle. Lie angle is the turf interaction, right? And how are you interacting with the turf? Not just up and down again, but back and forth. Are you pinching it, scooping it, those kinds of things? Then how do you play in your golf? Are you a divot taker? Are you a scooper? Are you a guy that tries to flip a club? Are you artistic? Are you point, click, and chip? Those kinds of things. And then typically where you play. Like we have some people from Albuquerque, Scotland, all these different places, and there's different playing conditions, different playing types in order to make that happen. And so you have to take all that into consideration because now you're talking about soul grinds, right? And then everybody think it was the most important, but probably it's a consideration, but not at the top three, is quite possibly the shaft, right? They now have and you can see them right over here, that little spot, those 5 or 6 that I've got, which needs to be much more, wedge shafts, specific wedge shafts. Many manufacturers are making them for specific types because of the heavier head, the way that they impact with the ground, different things that they want to control with that. And so there we go with that. And then finally, the grip, right? Let's get a grip that's comfortable, one that fits right underneath of you. So hopefully, Craig, that got it. Okay, flow tester, rubber shaft holder, Velcro laser on, put head on. What do you have? Cheap flow tester. Oh, so my flow is, I actually have a video. If you go looking for flow, if you type in the FLO, you'll probably find how I made it. So I made the laser finder, and it's basically 2 wire clamps opposite each other, and then I chopped off the little extra tabs, and then I use my laser is a laser. I get it from Office Max, and it's a keychain. It's a keychain laser tester, and I cut off the keychain and I use it, and the clamp presses down on the button, and then you can do that. And that's why I do it. And then I put it into a clamp. I just happen to have a Club Scout, which was an earlier model frequency machine. And as long as you're tweaking into the jaws, not through the jaws, you're fine. You can use just about anything. The other most important is, what are you reflecting off of? Right? If you're in a very light environment, I'm finding, on some of my videos I do in the shop, I have a dry erase board, and it works really, really good on a dry erase board. Some people have painted a shoebox black and put it in front of that, and that's basically what I have. Now, there are other ones out there that go right on the end of the shaft, and they use it's a machine piece of metal, but I, like you, put the club head on, and that's how that goes. Just what we said, it's just a sprinkling on the top. It's just basically enough to know that you're getting a sprinkling on the top, and that's it. They come in a tube, a container that it's probably I know it's kind of hard to get a definition, but the thing's probably 4 inches tall, and it's about as big around as a quarter, and it comes about 3/4 filled. And I will use that for years. I think I may have bought that stuff 3 times since I've been here, right? And we're up to 10 years, so that's kind of going to give you an idea. All right, Willard watching a video. Does the spine of the shaft match the flow? We try, right? We that's how it starts. The spine starts at 12 o'clock for us. We put the club face on at 12 o'clock, and we pull down to get it going up and down like that. Now, every once in a while, and I'm finding out that the geometry of the club, if the club has a lot of offset, you probably won't be in there, and that's because of the CGs are moving around, and so you might have to tweak it one way or the other, but very, very close. D's back. How are things over on the other side, man? Here we go. Just got a ping 410. Like new demo, Alta 55, changed the stock. Traxxon grip, oversized copper, very nice. Good. I was always wondering whether or not their new Traxxon grips were any good or not. That would be something to see. Have you done any builds with the i2 iron yet? Seem to be the only heads available for lefties, and you would be correct. And let me get up again. This is the only one. There you go, bud. And I've put it into an Acra 90 Tour. And I have hit this thing untold number of times. I'd hate to show you how bad it is, but I've been finding the right there. I can tell you that in the middle, it is extraordinarily soft. If you get off to the side, it is not nearly as much. And that's because it has in the upper irons, you see that little piece that's in there? That's what softens things up a little bit. Now, as they go down, it just that pocket disappears and it goes away. But it's very easy to look at. It's a very nice at address. It has what I would call a medium amount of offset to a medium low. Very well quality built. Now, and the driver, I have the driver as well. And it's all for testing. I've talked to Britt. I've got his recording down, and I've tested these things, and I want to do it some justice. We're going to go back and hit it again and see whether or not changing a shaft might change the outcome of what's going on. But, I mean, I'm into, 185-ish with this particular 6-iron. So they're medium strong, right? They're not super duper massive strong. They're right in the middle. So yeah, it's a pretty nice little setup. So in short, either this week or next, you're going to see the review on them. So I like them. All right, I like Jumbo Max. I'm not going to put them on my irons only because I've got brand new grips on mine. So. And they're not those. The ultralights are actually kind of neat looking. If memory serves, they're also very less taper, which seems to be the going thing. And if for and they're light, so and they really are in comparison to the other ones. They are very light, which might give guys that are building or guys that are testing. If you got guys with very large hands, or guys that have maybe some hand issues with an arthritis kind of thing, or they just like to not have to grip down really. This very well may work, right? And they actually do look very good, or they actually feel very good too. So I wouldn't be afraid. I mean, I've had people take them out and use it and have really great results. It's just that the sheer size freaks them out. And that's what you got to overcome that, I think, first. Let them get comfortable with it and then hit it. But once it's on, I think a lot of people really finally get the idea of what that larger grip is for. And it doesn't work every single time, but there are some folks out there that really are in need of that kind of stuff. Kevin. No, so now as we were talking, if you can see right there, that is the Nemesis that we were talking when our friend from VA Shafts was on there, and that is a counterbalance shaft. And what they do when they counterbalance, that means that there's more weight. I'll use this one as an example. There's more weight back here during the manufacturing process than there is down here in the manufacturing process. And what you're doing is you're just basically manipulating the balance point. So if this was, let's just say, for instance, for argument's sake, this is the balance point of a normal shaft, it very well may move this far back, thus creating a lot of weight, or not a lot of weight, but more weight in the back as it would be there. And can you add the weights to a counterbalance shaft? Absolutely. Mr. Travis, I am currently using the Bird of Prey from Odyssey. And no, I do not change very frequently. My first putter I had was a positive putter. It was a guy from out of Indianapolis. And it was when you, I'm going to show you, when you balance the club, it would balance like this. It would balance toe up completely. So it was in the path of the swing. I had that thing for a very long time. And what happened, the greens got better, and this thing was very, very light. Really neat. It was invented by a guy who did body work on Rolls Royces. So it was pretty good. And then I found Peretti, and I still have that one, and that's pretty much fights for position in the bag. And it's an old, before that. And this is, now keep in mind, this is over 15, 20 years of playing. That I had a Kirk Curry model. And there's a lot of familiarity between some of the Kirk Curry and some of the Toulon stuff. And so that's why I'm kind of familiar with the Toulon and what they do and how it works. And Kirk Curry actually fit me for that putter. And when he decided to no longer be in the golf game, I decided to retire the putter as kind of a thing in history. You know, it's not that I didn't like it, because it is very heavy and I like that I just thought it was more fitting to just retire it as something to go on my wall as a conversation piece with some of my other left-handed putters. And then I went to the Peretti, which I have, and I tell you, again, it's a center shafted mallet. It was one of those belly putters. It was 400 grams, and I cut it down. And now I have the Bird of Prey. And the only thing I've ever done to the Bird of Prey is I changed out the grip. I put a Garson grip on it. And that's been in there since the beginning of the year. And unless something big that just rolls the ball automatically and the hole pops up, I don't think I'm changing for a while, because it's actually doing me very, very well. I'm very confident with it right now. There's another one from Scotland. Doug, where you at, bud? All right. Should you always swing weight match irons or swing weight match, like MOA speed match, or how do you choose the fit? All right. Well, so I swing weight. So when we build, it's kind of a match, right? I don't do a lot of MOI. All right. MOI, moment of inertia, for those guys who don't know. And it is a very neat way of balancing. Okay. I just don't have, in my mind's eye, the scientific or the proven method to say this works for you, this doesn't. This works for you, this doesn't. It basically boils down to somebody grabbing a club and saying, this is my favorite club, which 9 times out of 10 is the 7-iron. And so you go and match that, and you try and match that to that. So, it's almost a kind of on a feel of trying to make everything feel like single length, but it's not, right? And there's just something about that. Is it wrong? No. There are all kinds of people out there talking about MOI matching and doing very, very well with it, and good. It's just not a system that I've adopted, and I wouldn't give anybody down the road for using it either. So I would use that one. But swing weight matching, what I do is I make my irons, I try and match them when I build them as a degree of consistency through the club. Now, does it have to meet a particular number like 4.0 or 4.5 or anything like that? No, I don't get too wrapped around the axle with that one. Although I see Scott Gourlay over there, Gurley, yeah, SGGT in Scotland. He's doing a lot with adding weights and seeing what's happening, and he's seeing some pretty decent results. You might talk with him and see how he is doing it, but I'm just not doing it. The other thing is that sometimes it's just a function of the way that it's built. All right, if you have a certain type of shaft, and I did a video on that one as well. When you use an ultra lightweight shaft, and then you're making a club that's a half an inch short, and you're using an extra jumbo-y grip, and all of a sudden you want D4, there's just no way on the planet that that's going to happen. You'd have to put a piece of rebar in there and all you're doing is tricking the swing weight scale, and that's not what this is about. It's really to make the club feel good for the golfer. And then when you do it and you make them all look the same within a swing weight point, then you're doing the golfer a service. There's Boston. Richie. I get it. Richie. That's pretty funny. Good to see, man. I'm glad. All right. Ooh. Phil, Edinburgh, thank you. Thank you so much. We went there about 2 years ago. We went to the, for crying out loud, the military thing. It was during the festival, and it was a phenomenal place. If any of you guys ever go to Scotland, go there during the festival. Go to Edinburgh, and I'm telling you, you will come back one happy person. Look at that. East of Scotland. Very good, man. We definitely have to get back there. We want to do the Northern Ireland and then take a trip over to the Scotland and stay and do it 2 weeks. I just think it would be really great. What is Pop's age cap? I don't know. Ireland again. Thank you, sir. As bending lie affects length, should you bend the loft and lie before you cut the playing length? The answer is yes. Okay. And not only does lie affect length, but it also affects swing weight. All right. How about that one? You start getting out around 3 degrees, and all of a sudden you're checking up on swing weight, going up or down. You can make it less or more. Again, you're tricking the scale, but yeah, it can. And especially if you're going to be going to those directions. When you start thinking that you got to bend 3 degrees, you want to bend first. If you want to be totally 100% precise, do it before. No, it is not it's constant in the fact that it progresses at the same based on length. So for every half inch of length, right, every half inch of length is a change in a half a degree of lie angle. And let's say you start at the 5, and let's just say it's 61. And everything was in half-inch increments. It would be 61, 61 and a half, 62, 62 and a half, 63, 64 and a half, 64, 64 and a half, as you get down, as it changes, because length and lie angle are very much connected. All righty, here we go. I'd love to, man. Here we go. If I want a progressive iron shaft flex weight in a set, how is that possible in a fitting if we only test a 6-iron. Well, that would be something, wouldn't it? So when they talk about, I'm not aware of anybody doing a progressive shaft flex. All right, that would be a different flex in every iron, and I don't see anybody doing that. All right, now progressive weights. So when you see progressive weighting, like the AMTs and things like that, they are normally in taper tip shafts. Not all the time, but Nippon's been known to do some stuff. But well, let's put it this way: when the shaft comes in a discrete length. All right, a discrete length, meaning that a 5-iron is one length, a 6-iron is another length, and so on and so forth. And then those weights get progressively heavier because they're shorter, or they weigh the same, but you're in a smaller amount of space. Does that make sense? And then you can, but when you put them together, they all kind of marry out at the same. They all come out as D whatever, and they come out of the flex whatever, and those kinds of things. And it was basically constant weight. Now, progressive weight is very, very small, and if they're in such an animal, like we'll keep on the AMT line. I've had some in here, and the swing weights never change. So I think what it is, it's more of fitting to help you, the golfer, not necessarily to see the difference. In that particular philosophy, lighter shaft, swing faster, get more head speed, ball gets in the air. Get down to the bottom end, a little bit heavier, because the idea is to get under the ball and get through it. And it might be a little bit more beefy because there's more stuff, and that you're aiming a little bit better. And that's why. But if you wanted to see more, then you would have to probably arrange for something like that, if that person would do that. Okay, if that person would do that. All right. Here we go. Yeah, about that. There you go. Very good. Another one. Go ahead, Marion. When did you decide to charge your friends or people for your services versus free as a hobby? Aaron, when I decided to make it a business. As a hobby, you have a choice. When I was doing it as a hobby, I was being paid in beer. Beer, or somebody bring over an extra shaft or something, or we go golfing somewhere, and I would be taken out onto a golf round at the local municipal course. And that's how I was paid quite a bit. Now, when you get ready to go into a business, you have to be very, when you get into a business, life changes, right? You can also you can make exceptions if you want, and that's purely in your business model, right? I have a couple of friends that I've known for basically my entire career here, and yes, we do hook them up every once in a while, but as a whole, that's when you change from a hobby and you decide to become a business. That's basically when that changes, because now if you think about it for a moment, when you're a hobby, chances are you've got another job and you're working, and it's a hobby. It's fun, like building a model, right? However, when it's services, you think of it as it's putting food on your table. Once you do that, you're ready to go. Well, there's a couple things. Number one, there was when I was going through the PCS, they had a book, and it was a structure on all the things you had going out, all the things you had coming in, and what you had to make in between, and then a time. And it was very, very much associated with how a car mechanic would charge time for certain jobs, regardless, right? So if you said changing a tire is X number of minutes, that number of minutes is to what we're charge fee, it cost $7, whatever. That's kind of how we could start with, we know regripping a club goes this far, we know changing a head does this, and it's based on our time. Now, I also, sometimes you can price yourself out of things, and so we were going to the local big box stores, and we were seeing what they were charging for their services, and basically we charged a little more. Not a lot, a little, and in order to do that, because we believed our services were better. And that's the reason why we did it. Mr. Flanders, getting after it. All right. Good job with the thing. Okay. I do, but I honestly, with the last 2 or 3 weeks, we've been very, very busy with making clubs and doing fittings. I just have to sit down and do it. Have you ever fit anyone with an Alda Rogue Max 75 graphite extra stiff and the Rogue Sub-Zero driver, or do you regularly match the shaft up with the Epic Flash only? Well, no, the Epic Flash has been taken out of my system, and we actually match up to the Maverick. Right, we do with the Maverick, and it does have the new Alda Rogue. It's the white and black with some of the graphics that are on it. The Alda Rogue Max 75 is a bit of a different animal. It's not. I think it's a little bit more harsh, to be honest, than the new Alda Rogue that they have. And I had 2 extra stiffs, and yes, I have put him in a driver for a young man. He was in his mid-20s. He was swinging right around, I'm going to say 110 with a driver, but his release was such that you really needed to have that little extra stiffness at the bottom in order for it to be more consistent. But yeah, I have. Okay. No doubt, right? No doubt. Oh, that's good. Oh, wait, here we go. We got another one. William, what wax do you use on your ferrules when buffing? Thanks. All right, William, so we call it Glanz Watch, and it's WANCH, I think it's what it's called. Or WANX, whatever you want, as far as the wax. So anyway, it's really called yellow. The bottom line is it's yellow polish, and it was a polish that was used to be applied to guitars to put a coating on it and give it that shine. And I kind of stumbled onto it, and that's where it does. So it's Grizzly. If you go to Grizzly and you look up yellow polish, it won't say Glanz Watch, it'll just say yellow polish. And Minzerna is the group. And I had a half bar that I've used almost my entire career, and I'm just now getting into another bar. And so it does go for quite a long time. The other important part is put it on an unstitched buffing wheel, unstitched, and don't run it any higher than 1,800 RPMs. It gets going fast, and you're going to burn things, and that's not what you want. All right, let's see. We're going to go back a little bit. Did I miss anybody? All right, so I got one for you guys, and I want you to put them in the comments if you don't mind. We're getting into the point where the new products are going to start. Well, we got a while yet, but I want to plan. And if you guys are interested in golf club reviews, right? What is it that's important to you? What's important to you in order to see something that would gain your interest in a review? Is it you want to see how far somebody hits it? Like you see, like I watched again. I'll give TXG that Matt just kills it a mile, and it's fun to watch guys hit it. But are you looking for something more technical? Like, do you want to know if the lofts, lies, weights are as the manufacturer would state, like we do when we do some measuring? Are you interested to see how it looks? Are you interested? Or what are you basically? What are you interested in? What would get your fancy to be able to see if you're looking? Go, oh, there's a review. Yeah, bank, and then would keep you coming back. What is that? Okay, what would that be for you in a golf club review? All right, and we're getting ready to actually I'm getting ready to start putter reviews, right? And I've got the Capto unit, and since I just finished my level 2 certification, we're going to use the Capto as giving us some. Basically, it's the launch monitor of that particular stuff, and we're going to start that. But tell me what you think. I want to know what you guys have to say about what would interest you in a review. And then some other topics maybe in the way of fitting, right? I'd like to get into a little deeper into fitting. What's a good topic that you would like to see covered? I've done length. I probably will redo length, but I want to see what's important to you there. And then, of course, as the broken clubs come in, they'll turn into videos as far as that goes. So there's that one. James is like, I'm talking to myself. What do you look for in a putter fitting? Well, I looked, the bottom line in a putter fitting, does the ball roll in the hole? I mean, as simple as that, right? Let's make it simple, right? Now, the ball's got to go in the hole. So how does the ball go in the hole? Well, you got to be able to see the line. So you got to have yourself positioned either, somewhere in the vicinity of the ball that you can see the line. Not everybody, you will see guys that just have to be over the ball, or some people that are to the inside of the ball. It's almost taboo to be over the ball, right? And you got to see the line. Then when you're seeing the line, well, how do you see the line? Well, you see the line because of the length and the lie of the putter. When I do fit, I have a jig that does loft and lies, and almost 85% stand too far away from the ball, and the club is too far up, or even too flat for that matter. And we start adjusting. So we go from a putter that looks like this, right? It just looks like this, and then we ended up going shorter and end up going like that, and all of a sudden they're making putts. And that's with just this rinky-dink little bitty blade with no alignment line on it. And then once you see that, then is the putter fighting your stroke? You hear about it, is it matching your stroke? That's the way to say it. But I'm looking for, is it fighting your stroke? Now, because it used to be that mallets were just about face balancing, and they were just about for, straight in, straight back type putt strokes. Well, that's not true anymore. All right. And they got all these other ones. So that's something to consider. Right. And then finally, it's the grip. And then when you put it all together, are you still making putts? You got to make the putts. And there's a lot of things that the Capto I'm starting to use just has a truckload of information. It's an excellent instructing tool. But I'm starting to get the important parameters that it sees that I can use in fittings. There you go. Here we go. That I did that a little bit on the last one that I did with the Mizuno review, and it got a lot of positive results. I think I'm going to start doing that a little bit more. We're going to talk about how talking about low spin shafts, do they really spin the ball low? And maybe for me, maybe not. All right. That one's actually pretty good too. You can actually, if you really wanted to have fun and go to Flight Scope, and they used to have, I don't know if they still do, where you can play around with spin rates and height, how high you hit the ball with the spin, and it would show you how it would fly and how you would get certain distances out of it. It's really quite cool. The Smoke 60 6.0 is what they would probably consider to be in their, we'll call it stiff range. The 6.5 is more along the lines of what they would call firm, but the hazardous line, they had colors, right? They had yellow and they had red and they had black for the three that I remember. Black being the most stiffest of the group, and the smoke was a offshoot, a little different profile than the black was, to feel a little softer, yet still have that control that was out there. And it could be that, will you see much change when you go to the black and from the 60 and the smoke? Probably hit it a little lower. But yeah, if you're in the 110 to 112 and you're anywhere near aggressive, you'll probably feel the club in your backswing and you'll probably gain a little bit more control. So sure. Oh, Phil, that's probably a pretty good one. We're going to go over that one. Okay, Aaron, that's a good one. John, that's an excellent. We're going to have to start writing all these down. Hopefully, I can get her to write them down. What's the odds I can get Mrs. McGolf to write these down? Richard, no, but that is a good question. There is a particular brand. So epoxies are really defined by their shaft strength, or their shear strength, and their working and their temperature that they work at. Okay, and so I get my stuff from GolfWorks. I get most of my golf supplies from GolfWorks because, one, they're an hour and 45 minutes away, and the other one, they're really good people. All right, I get it. That's the reason why I get it from them. So that's where I go from them. However, 3M makes it's an epoxy that a lot of people are using, and it's a DP 810. And there's a black and a clear, and I believe even brown. But the DP 810, excellent. It's top of the line glue, but it's also about 5 times more expensive. So if you're doing a lot of golf or a lot of golf clubs, and you want to absolutely positively 100% make sure that you're not going to have a failure, I would go with the 3M stuff. But I've been using GolfWorks, and have I had some slips and some failures? Yeah, yes, I have. But there's also some things that when you put them in the back of your black car and it's summertime and 100 degrees outside, it gets upward near 300 degrees in the trunk, and that loosens the glue. And then when you go to swing it, it starts moving it around. So does that happen to the DP? I have yet to hear about that. So, it's one of those things I might have to go. But no, Gorilla Glue from Lowe's, don't do it. Don't do the JB Weld either, because you will never get it out. I ran into that. That's true. Some putters, it's based on, again, manufacturers, right? Just like in irons, some manufacturers like a particular 6-iron. We'll even look at Mizuno. They have three different models, and all the 6-irons are different lofts, 4 different players. Now, the 4 to 2 degrees can always be bent, right? So if you're 4 degrees and you're a guy that comes down into the ball in order to get back into 2, or if you're a guy that's a 2, then you loft up in order to get up into the 4. As long as the ball is rolling, it works. And but that is something to test for sure. You don't want the ball to be skidding or lofting up either. I'm digging that too, man. Okay. Hey, there you go. That might not be a bad idea. Just take a quality demo and then one that might be totally fit, something like that, or a change. I ran into one today, or not today, but Saturday. Ran into one Saturday, and same head, or I'm sorry, same shaft, same grip, same flex, same weight, same everything. Actually, the same head. We just changed the lie angle, and the change, 2 degrees of lie angle change, and it was take it from a push to a down the middle. I'm pointing at my hitting nut, and down to the middle, and the quality of hit went up some crazy number of percentage points. So yeah, there's something to be said about that. And there's also something to be said about when places like me, or places that things that I do, when they make it, they're checking those so that you have the consistency, where when you buy them from a big store, they are not. And that's just because they're allowed a tolerance. And if they're within the tolerance, there you go. Accuracy video on the accuracy of online fitting selection tool. Well, I'd have to actually find one. I guess I could do something like the shaft fitting tool and see if that would work for me. And I can tell you that I did the KBS one, and the one that I've got in my clubs is not the one that they recommended. Now, is it to say it will work? Probably, but it's not the same one. So it becomes preferential, because they have to do a very general cast of the things that are going on out there. That's just what it is, right? So there you go. All right, guys. So again, Scotland, Ireland, Arizona, New Mexico, New Jersey, right? Sweden. Holy smokes. Thank you guys for coming and listening to me just talk and letting us talk together about golf stuff. I think that's great. We're going to keep doing this, and keep throwing out the things that you'd like to see that would get you clicking, right? Things that would get you clicking in order to watch reviews, so we can incorporate some of these things. And we have a video coming out, and it most likely will be a review of a golf club that it's been mentioned in this we'll call it a podcast, in this live stream. So until then, guys, as always, let's see your scores go low.